Good afternoon, everybody. This is Mr. Shakespeare here again, and on this fine and sunny afternoon, I'm here with psychic medium Liz Cross, who's a remote viewer and a psychic medium, as we all have known and love her. Hi, Liz. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm glad I'm loved. Thank you. Yeah, that's, I just put out the information. I just put out the content. That's my job, and I want to enlighten people as much as possible. Still waiting for that date to go on Coast to Coast, but it will be coming up soon. Got some other shows planned. And if you want to book a reading with me, I suggest you get in there before I go on Coast to Coast, because I've already been hit with hundreds and hundreds of requests and emails. PsychicLizCross.com. Well, I see you have Clif High here. I really, really like Clif High. I've watched one of his videos years ago. I just like his demeanor. I like the way he puts things across to people. So what would you like for me to do today?
Well, let's find out a few things. First, okay, do you have a good connection with him?
I do.
Okay, and how's he doing today?
He's doing well. He's doing well.
Okay, how's his health doing? Is okay?
How's your health? He's low energy, but he could be a lot better.
Okay. He's recently started publishing a few more things online, and it's accessing and referencing back to some of his old alta data, ALTA data. Is he surprised that a lot of that now is coming to fruition?
No, he says he predicted it. What is alta data, by the way?
I think it's hold on a minute, I can't remember. I used to know this. Was it asymmetric language? I can't remember. I'll come back to you on that. I'll get back to you on that.
Well, it says here on your screen, Clif High is an internet data mining expert who uses predictive linguistics on computer programs to sort through billions of bits of information on the internet to predict future trends and events. Mm-hmm. So he uses, I guess, what, language and search engines?
Well, he's a computer programmer of some note. And he basically introduced the world to something called a web bot, which were these little bits of code that went flying around the internet and grabbing up information. So, and then from that, he wrote programs that would reduce that down and give him sort of data sets and things like that. Very, 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 very advanced for his time when he started this. And then, of course, he's had to put, as language has grown and things like that, he's had to modify and do things to his programs. I think he's got something called the emotional reduction engine or something, which tries to take the emotion out of the language. So he's a linguistic guy. I mean, he's definitely, language is his thing. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, language is fascinating. We have David Oates on the channel once a week. I always find that very fascinating. And the reason I keep having David Oates on is because anybody can do reverse speech, right? So a lot of people are trying to find ways of making predictions. Well, if you have the time and the dedication, you can certainly make predictions with reverse speech if you got very proficient at it. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to put the time in to learn these things. It's like with CTT. I studied CTT for 4 years. 4 years, that's a long time. And remote viewing, I studied for years and years and years, and I still study it now. So it's a lifelong learning thing. Language, going back to language though, it's always interesting to me that the language of the subconscious is mutual, as in even if somebody across the world speaks, you know, German, Spanish, Dutch, Russian, whatever, Ukrainian, Chinese, whatever they speak, when I probe the subconscious doing these mind probes, all the feedback is reported in English. And I find that really fascinating. So if anybody has any theories as to why that is, please drop a comment and let me know, because I would still love to know how I can probe non-English speakers. I'm not proficient in many other languages. So I find that very fascinating. So he uses predictive linguistics, I see.
So his reports were asymmetric language trend analysis. So, you know, that was the ALTA report. And these had various sections in them: global pop, you know, America pop, UK pop, all the population. And these were data sets that were coming out, which he refined over time. And they seemed to be very, very accurate until I think it was 2016. And then the data streams were heavily polluted. And then, you know, somebody didn't want all this stuff coming out too much. He was getting a bit too accurate for some people, I believe. Anyway, can we take him forward?
Accurate, they'll rip you down. Anyway, go ahead.
Can we take him forward to January 7, 2023, please?
Yeah, let's go. January 7th, 2023. He wants to go 25.
Why does he? Can we ask why he wants to do that?
Why do you want to go 25? Because more of his predictions came true. And I'm
all
saying,
right, I'll tell you what, let's indulge him. Let's go then. Let's go January the 7th, 2025.
January 7th, 2025, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's not an easy person to move, by the way. Let me try that again. January 7th, 2025, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, what would you like to know?
Okay, well, let's call him what he asked. What predictions did he say did come true? What happened? What came true?
What came true? I feel like the U.S. election was a huge one for him. The outcomes, the smear campaigns. He seems to be on point with the agenda. So I feel like it has a lot to do with the election.
The 2024 election or the 22 midterms?
22 midterms. No, 24.
What happened in the 24 election?
What happened in the 24 election? He says we lost. Now I don't know what side of the fence he sits on, but he's saying we lost.
Okay. Is the current president, then male or female?
Biden elected. It was Biden they elected. He couldn't run again.
Okay. So does the US have a female president now?
No, I feel like it's a male.
Okay. How did any of his crypto calls come out? What's happening to Bitcoin?
What's happening to Bitcoin? Thumbs down on Bitcoin. He says cryptos are finished.
When did they finish?
When did they finish? 23, 24. It's just a very difficult space, he says.
Okay. What happened to Ripple? Does he know?
What happened to Ripple? Stalemate.
Still stalemate?
Still stalemate. Is it over? It's still stalemate.
What happened to Ethereum?
What happened to Ethereum? He's telling me the whole world. Okay. What happened to Ethereum? The whole world is lost. The whole world has lost faith in cryptos.
Right. And that was what, 23, 24? End of 23? End of 23, was it?
Yeah, by 24.
Right. Okay. Was there any good news for cryptos in 2020, the end of 2022, the last 2 quarters? Can you remember, or can he recall?
I feel, here we go again, Ethereum. Now, I got this on a couple of different videos now. I feel like Ethereum seems to be doing better than the others.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Does that mean everybody throws all their money into Ethereum? No. It means that Liz is not a financial advisor. I'm only just giving you information for entertainment purposes.
How did the stock market do over the last couple of years? What happened in the end of 2022?
What happened at the end of 2022? It tanked. It tanked.
Has it come back to anywhere near its previous levels in 23 or 24?
It's getting close. And at the end of around 24.
Okay. What's the political situation like in America nowadays?
He's really, you know, he's anti-government. It's not good. I mean, I won't use his exact wording because he's swearing, but it's not good. He doesn't agree with it. I feel like he's very much does his own thing. He tries to isolate himself from government control as much as possible. I'm getting he tries to be a member of the free thinking world, he's telling me. And that's how he lives. And he says it's not easy being this type of person, being this type of thinker. You really have to go against the norm.
Is mainstream media and the influence that they currently hold, is that still a thing then in beginning of 2025?
Yes, he says it's, now this is his own personal thought, personal thought, opinions and feelings. He says it's worse than ever before, especially with the new president. He's saying that they're really silencing everybody. They're really trying to make everyone submit. He says this is a calculated approach to take control.
Is the new president a Republican or a Democrat?
Is the new president Republican or Democrat? Well, according to him, he says Democrat, but more of a moderate. Now, I've gotten that before, that the new president is going to be allegedly right down the middle. Which way it ends up going whilst in power, we don't know yet. But I keep getting that it's going to be somebody right down the middle.
Does the House, the Congress, does that have a Republican or a Democrat majority?
Does the House have a Democrat or Republican majority? Democrat.
What about the Senate?
The Senate, so the House is Democrat. Well, okay. See, I don't know a lot about Clif High, right? I've only ever watched that one video. I didn't even finish it. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it because I couldn't understand what was going on with it. I think it's somebody you have to follow on a regular basis. But I feel like Clif High is hard right. Not hard right as in, you know, how people portray the hard right, but I feel like economics, as far as like government control, I feel like he's hard right. Is that correct?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. So when we're asking these questions about, you know, the House and the Senate, I actually feel that the House is almost split down the middle, okay, maybe slightly right, but
Okay.
according to his opinion, because that's what this is, he's like, they're Democrat. Do you
Well,
see
they
what
could
I
be
mean?
right. They could be rhinos, Republican in name only. So there's a few of those around. Okay, how's
Yeah.
Canada? How's Canada been doing the last couple of years?
He goes, thank God I don't feel like he lives in Canada, does he? Because he's like, thank God, we're away from that. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He thinks Canada's a disaster. Those of you who are not familiar with Clif High, and I'm not really that familiar with him, I do get asked to probe him a lot, and I haven't done many probes, maybe once a couple of years ago, but he's extremely opinionated. Okay. So I don't want his opinions to offend anybody, but I just want you to know that Clif High is very opinionated. So what is coming through are his very strong opinions. Now, he thinks Canada, the Canadian government is like, he's comparing them to Nazis.
Okay, well, yeah, well, they do have some Nazi connections, don't they? So, okay, how's Mexico doing?
How's Mexico doing? Mexico, I'm like, really? How's Mexico doing? It's like becoming I don't know what he means. He's trying to tell me something, but it's almost like something to do with policing. And he's saying it's becoming a total police state. Again, you have to understand that he has very strong opinions.
Well, that's good. We want somebody with strong opinions.
Yes, but yes, that's true. We do want somebody with strong opinions, but the problem is, I feel like his opinions are so strong that, he's not giving like extremely accurate answers. So when I'm looking at Mexico, when I asked him that Mexico is like, it's becoming a police state. Well, for those people that know Mexico, right? It really isn't a police state that I'm aware of. A lot of people go there because they have a lot more freedom. Politically, they have a lot more freedom. However, let's ask him this. Are you saying it's becoming a police state because of the government? Now, see, yes, he says the USA is controlling the Mexican government.
Right. Well, there you go. That's why. So if they're ratcheting down in the US, it makes sense that the two countries bordering America, are not the bastions of freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
That doesn't look good for the US. So the US, would want to insert its control north and south. How's the EU been doing these last 2 years?
How's the EU been doing these last 2 years? He's like, the EU is finished. Again, another very strong opinion. He's funny. He believes economically finished.
Okay. What about United Kingdom, England? How's the UK been doing the last 2 years?
Well, he says they've managed to salvage because they broke away from the EU. He does not like the EU at all.
No.
Has he said that before?
I've not heard him say that, but it doesn't surprise me because what is the EU at the end of the day? It's just a monetary union. It's not the same as the federal government of all the states in the US. It does not have the same element of, it's hugely wasteful of money. It's very costly and achieves not much. So
I don't know. It was pretty powerful. Certainly when I lived in the UK,
let's put it this way. Well, yeah, but let's put it this way. The EU doesn't have an army. The US government does. And at the end of the day, how does anybody enforce anything? Through violence and coercion. So, so at the end of the day, the EU can't do much apart from, make EU rules. So
Yeah, but
Okay.
the countries adhered to those rules too much, I believe.
Well, some do and some don't. You know, how's Germany doing? How is Germany doing the last 2 years?
How's Germany doing? He says it's over. Listen, you're talking to somebody that has absolutely no faith in any government anywhere.
Okay, all right. China, how are they doing?
How are China doing? They control the world.
No. How's Russia doing?
How's Russia doing? Their economy's on the up.
Okay.
He says it's almost like people have forgiven them.
Right. Do we still have food shortages or food distribution shortages?
Food shortages or food distribution shortages? No, I feel like he's very self-sufficient, right? He just said to me, I'm very self-sufficient. Does he grow his own food?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was asking him. Obviously, I was asking him more for a global outlook or not just what he's doing personally. So okay. Do we still have the Federal Reserve note?
Do we still have the Federal Reserve note? Yes.
How does that make him feel?
How does that make you feel? Despondent. I don't know what he means by that.
Well, he was forecasting in 2022 that we're near the end of the Federal Reserve Bank, and he was predicting their almost imminent demise, and that obviously has not happened. What does he think about that prediction?
What do you think about that? He feels like it's a failed prediction, but I understand where he's coming from. You can't be right all the time. Right. All we can all do is just try our best. And what I like about him is he gives what I feel like, because I don't really know his work. I just hear people talk about him. I really don't know a lot about him. But I do feel he tries to give very pinpointed information, not the general psychic that just goes, oh, there's going to be a volcano erupting. Okay, well, yeah, there is going to be a volcano erupting somewhere in the world, in the near future. Of course there is. Or there's going to be an earthquake. I don't feel like he's one of those, because those types of psychic predictions, and I know he's not a psychic, but those types of predictions are, they're too vague. And that's where I try to really hone in with these mind probes on what is coming. And I feel like he's doing the same thing in a very different way, but he tries to really give very pinpointed information. So he's like, well, you can't be right all the time. He's okay with that. He's disappointed in the outcome, as in he thinks that we should move beyond the dollar. Okay. But again, what he's telling me, it's not possible because of the government. The government, in his opinion, is very inflexible and is going to hold on to that cash as long as possible. And he believes that's an outdated approach.
Talking about cash in 2022, in July of 2022, he was advocating that everybody use cash as much as possible. How did that work out? I mean, is cash still a thing now in first week in 2025?
Yes, it's very much a thing. Have people gone back into cash? Yes, I do feel like people are going back into cash. Why is that? Is it because that law has come out where they're following our transactions like PayPal, Venmo, transfers? Yes. So he is telling us, and for those of us that are in the USA, we have a thing called Venmo. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a cash app. We have a cash app. So we buy and sell, or we pay people through these little apps, right? I'm sure you do in the UK as well. It's been a while since I've been back because of COVID. Do you have any apps in the UK like that?
Probably, but I don't use them. So
Right. Well, and it's easy to do bank transfers in the UK. It's not easy to do bank transfers, certainly here in the US that I have found. It's an ordeal. So it's easier to pay one another through these things like Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, things like that.
Yeah, we have
And
PayPal. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, right. So what the US, he's telling me, is that they're tracking every dollar that is going through those apps now. And that's why he says cash is the way to go. You know, he doesn't like the government tracking him. He doesn't like the government knowing what he's buying and selling. And he doesn't like that at all. So for him, cash is very important.
Is the US dollar or the Federal Reserve note still king of the pile?
Yes. Has China swapped over to digital currency? Not yet.
Okay. Has there been any more developments on central bank digital currencies and CBDCs?
Central bank digital currency. Yes. But what was the development? They tried to push it forward, but it failed.
Who tried? The US government, the UK government, the Chinese, the EU? Who tried? Who failed?
The US government. No, I feel like the banks have tried to push the notion forward, but it was slapped down by the governments. No, like they didn't want to get into that at all. It's such a complicated system. The technology is very difficult to keep up with. You know, somebody said to me the other week, as soon as a code is printed, it's out of date. And that goes that goes for cryptos as well.
Yeah. Does he still feel, or does he sorry, let's rephrase that. He previously said in July 2022 that he believed that, you know, the central banks are the problem. Does he still think that? And have they been the problem, or have they been any part of any solution?
Yes, they're trying. Do you still believe they're the problem? They're being blocked. Do you believe it's the government that's the problem? He believes there's problems all the way around. So, you know, he's saying the central banks have their hands tied at this point. But again, you know, that could just be spin. It could be, they could say, oh, well, we tried, but we couldn't push it forward just to appease everyone, because they're very much worried about the opinions of, you know, the world on the digital currency front.
Does he still own any cryptos?
Do you still own any cryptos? I do believe so. Are they on he doesn't keep them on an exchange.
No. Is it still possible to buy and sell cryptos?
Is it still possible to buy and sell cryptos? Peer-to-peer.
Okay. Were there any major centralized exchanges that failed over the last year or two? Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, KuCoin, you know, any of these failed?
Okay, so here we go. He said they're frozen.
Frozen by government decree, bankruptcy, lack of liquidity. Why are they frozen?
I think it's the liquidity.
Okay. Do most people just not care about cryptos and don't have them anymore?
Do most people just not care about cryptos? It's not that they don't care. There's just this significant lack of trust there.
Right. Okay. Has there been any spectacular bank failures that he's aware of, either in the US or in Europe, in England, or anywhere? I mean, major bank failures.
I feel like there's something out of China. I feel like there's a big problem with a very big global company out there that collapsed, and that had a knock-on effect to the stock exchange. Was it a development company? I do feel like it's a property company.
Was it Evergreen? Ask him if it was Evergreen.
No, this is not Evergreen.
Okay. Okay. What advice would he give anybody sitting in July 2022 with the benefit of his hindsight? Because, you know, what should they be doing or looking out for? How can they best protect themselves? What can they do for themselves over a coming year or so?
Stay out of the firing line of government. This guy, you know, he's so unique, and he's brave. He's very brave as well. I have to give him, you know, thumbs up to his bravery and his unique ability to create such a program like this.
Okay, but apart from stay out of the government, I mean, is there any other practical advice that he could give people? I mean, where should they put their money? If cryptos are no good, where should they, you know, what should they do?
People put their money. He says under the mattress. He's funny. I like him. And that's what I liked about him when I watched his video. He was just full on, you know, full throttle. You could tell he was an extremely intelligent person, and he still is, obviously. But he really is just so he probably, I don't know if you know much, but it feels like he lives on a compound, like way away from everybody. You know, you can't get up his driveway. There's probably gates there. I don't know anything about him or where he lives, but that's
he lives up in the Pacific Northwest. Ask him if he's still there.
Are you still in the Pacific Northwest? Yes.
Okay.
I don't feel he'll ever move from there.
No.
But I feel like he's like locked away.
Okay. Has any major corporations asked him to do any programming for them recently?
Ooh. No, he says I'm too extreme for that. You know what came to mind though? Okay. Has he tried to find the language to predict what the markets are going to do?
Well, I mean, his software originally was used for that, but he realized that it had a bigger, wider thing. When he originally wrote the code, it was to predict stock market prices. But he came across something called Sun, which he thought it was Sun Microsystems, but it actually turned out to be Corona, Sun and Corona. So we know, so that was a prediction of his, but I think he had a point in time where he realized that his software could be used for much more than just predicting stock prices. So he started to, you know, data mine everything, you know, not just money, but politics, but weather, but, you know, all sorts of things. I mean, he's basically mining the collective consciousness of people. He said that we are all basically standing wave antennas, and, you know, he's picking up on that because whatever we think, our thoughts, whether they're psychic or not, we tend to put them down electronically. And back in the day, he was, you know, if we were on a gardening forum, for argument's sake, me and you, and we were discussing roses, then, you know, we could have said, look, we've discovered this wonderful hybrid rose, you know, called the Liz Shakespeare rose or something, and we named it. Well, that, you know, he could have picked up on that with his data bots just skimming through the internet, you know, and that could have then been a thing. And then if this was, you know, promulgated throughout the net, and then somebody in Bulgaria decided that they wanted to have this rose and all of that, that would then become a thing, and he would pick up on it, and he would attach a numerical value to all this. So he is, I mean, he is very, very intelligent. He's, genius level as far as I'm concerned with lots of things. So, he's a very, very smart guy.
Well, how do people find him? For those listening that have never been able to, come across his information, how do people find him?
Well, he has a website called halfpasthuman.com, but I don't think he keeps that up to date. He really now is only on. He publishes some things on a Substack, and also on Rumble. He does sort of the occasional reports. Unfortunately, he was banned from YouTube.
Surprise there. I mean,
but there is a possibility that you can download. He basically released all of his altar reports for free, even though they were paid for at the time. He released all of them, and so there are places on the web to get them. One of them is you would go to webbotforum.com/files/category /2-altar ALTA -reports. I think you'd have to join them to get the reports. So that's probably not a good way. I think beyondmystic.com actually has an easier way of getting the reports. You can go to beyondmystic.com and search on there. I think he's made them available to that. That's probably an easier one, actually, so you don't have to sign up for things. It's just a straight download. And these were all the these are zip files of all the PDFs that he's ever released. And so you can follow the reports through if you want. I mean, they're fascinating. They're absolutely fascinating. And they were quite the thing in the day. So it was he that discovered, he knew about Bitcoin arrival back in 2009, for argument's sake. So he knew there was something coming up before it arrived. 2007, 2008, I believe. So he's a pretty useful guy, and because he's a clever programmer as well, he's able to program in various languages. He's been employed by Microsoft. He's been employed by the government. He's been employed by all sorts of major corporations back in the day. So because he's very talented, at what he does. He doesn't do.
Let's ask him. Sorry to cut you up, but it just came to me. Let's ask him, have you picked up on your programming or your predictive linguistics a new technology coming out that will replace crypto? Okay, yes, there you go. So as we're looking at him in 2025, it seems like he has picked up and he's telling me this new technology, people are discussing it, but it has not been developed yet. So for those of you who are, following us relentlessly, I know you do, we got to find this new technology. I don't think the current quest should be, what obscure altcoin is going to go to 1,000+%. I think at this point, we need to, and I'm not saying you shouldn't focus on that, but I think with the Bitcoin millionaires that I've done readings for, they all got in when it was just starting. So they paid like $50 as teenagers, and they paid, they bought $50 or $100 worth of Bitcoin, and now they've got millions of dollars. Do you know, Mr. Shakespeare, how much was the first Bitcoin?
Yes, I do. I do know how much. And I think it worked out. I did work this out. It was 0.004 cents or something like that. And it was 25th of May on 2010, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was called Pete Bitcoin. I mean, I'll have to check that date. But I know what happened. There was a guy in Florida who was mining Bitcoin by the thousands, actually, because in those days you could. And he to try and make it to try and get it out there, apart from just the geeks, he wanted to sort of get more recognition for it. So he put out some stuff out on bulletin boards and basically said, I'm hungry, I want 2 pizzas, and I want them super large with all the toppings, blah blah blah, and I want them delivered to my house. Anyway, a guy in England saw this and found his local pizza bar in wherever it was in Florida, phoned up and said, I would like to order 2 pizzas and have them, you know, with all these toppings, and have them delivered to this guy's house in Florida. And he was paid 25,000 Bitcoin for that, for 2 pizzas.
Oh God! You know what? Strangely enough, I remember the pizza story, but I didn't know that was exactly how it happened.
Yeah, so that put the first price. That was the first price on it, because you had 25, you had 40. I think the bill, the thing for the pizzas was like 42.50 or something, and then you divide that by 25,000 and you get 0.00 whatever it is it comes out at. So that was the first ever price of Bitcoin that we know that ever got priced, because prior to that, people who would mine Bitcoin would just give them to other people. We just give them away because they had no value. And if you know, if I mined them and you mined them and Uncle Bob mined them in Australia, we would just send them to each other. They didn't do anything. They had no value, but they had a value after that. Somebody put that was done to put a price on it. And Bitcoin has only ever gone up ever since. So yes, if you were one of the guys, girls, who had some of those original Bitcoins, you know, that you paid less than 1/10 of a cent for, you know, well, the prices are now not a problem for you, are they? They've never been a problem, because all they've ever done is gone up. Bitcoin, when it got to $1, and then it got to $64,000 or 69,000, was the highest performing asset on the planet ever. Nothing has matched what Bitcoin has done. So no stock, no trade, nothing. I mean, it's, you know, in the 10 odd years that it took to do that, it's phenomenal. Now I know it's gone back now to 20 odd thousand, but again, if you bought it for $1, $2, $10, does it matter? Nope.
Not really. I mean, and that's why I think probing Clif High is an excellent probe, because as we're moving closer, and well done, Mr. Shakespeare, for picking Clif High today. Thank you. Because as we're moving closer and closer towards the new technology, we need to be like the guy who wanted 2 pizzas. We need to be the first ones in, right? Don't wait for it to hit another exchange and this, that, and the other, because I can promise you, I've done many readings for crypto millionaires, and most of them were teenagers that bought $50 or $100 worth of Bitcoin, and they sat on it. They didn't even think about it until much later on, and then bam, they're 20 years old or just, you know, in college, and they're living very well with their Bitcoin holdings. You know, they're living off of and they only spent a fraction of, you know, a very small amount of money. And that is generally, for the hodler's market, that is the strategy. However, with the market that we're in right now, it's no longer a hodler's market. If you're looking to make money now, it's now a trader's market. So, you know, for the hodlers, they're being, you know, cremated. They're just being crushed down like you wouldn't believe. But the traders are managing to make money. And then I would say, you know, most of the people that I do readings for that are very successful at trading, they have a firm strategy in place. So if you're trading out there with no strategy and you're doing emotional trading, knee-jerk reaction trading, most of the time you're going to lose out. So, I mean, this new technology is what we all need to be looking for. It's coming, and I see it as devoid of a blockchain. Now, I am not an IT person. I don't know IT at all. look how many times it took me to send you a Zoom link this morning. I mean, it's bad. And everybody's like, but Liz, it's so easy. All you have to do is this. It's easy if you know, and it's easy if you're technologically minded. But anyway, that aside, we have to look for this new technology and get in very, very early. Like probing Clif High, is there talk of this technology? Where's the talk coming from? Which country? Who's developing it? So Clif High is a very good target actually for future probes.
Well, he is, and we'll keep tabs on him because the technology will be somehow computer related, because everything is computer related now, and he is the computer guy, you know. So, you know, he will know probably before most. He knew about Bitcoin, you know, before it arrived. So, wow. You know, he was the first person, you know, to talk about crypto or talk about something which he didn't know exactly what it was. I mean, it didn't have a name of Bitcoin, but he had his data reports showed something which then turned out Bitcoin. Back in the day, even back in 2013 and 14, he was telling people to buy Bitcoin, you know, wow. When it was only a few dollars. And a lot of people listened to him, and they are, you know, eternally grateful for his, you know, he got a lot of people into cryptos, a hell of a lot of people. Yeah. Wow. And he also knew, ask him if Swift has been replaced or if it's still a thing.
Has Swift been replaced? Yes.
Did Ripple replace it? XRP Ripple?
Did XRP replace it? No.
Okay.
What is Swift? I've heard Swift. What is Swift for our audience?
Yeah, so Swift is the messaging system that all the financial institutions and banks use. Because when they transfer money or when they transfer currency or funds or whatever, you know, they do not get a man in the car and go and take the dollars from one bank to another. They send messages and then they balance their books overnight. That's how it works. All banks must balance books overnight. They all must balance perfectly overnight. But during the day, when, you know, it's messaging backwards forward, so one bank sends another bank money to the account of funds. I mean, it's all, Swift is the messaging system that's owned by the banks, that's based in Belgium. It's an American company, actually, based in Belgium, and that runs the messaging service for all the banks. So, and the banks spend a hell of a lot of money having to have people at both ends of the chain. So if you are in Idaho and you need to send somebody in Idaho some money, that's not such a problem. If you need to send it to them in Florida, that's a bit more of a problem, but it's not a problem. Now, if you need to send it to Mexico, well, then now we're involving a bit more, because it's got to go. The Idaho bank might not be the main clearing bank, so it might have to go to a New York bank who has the facility with the bank in Mexico, which then has the facility with the local bank in Tijuana or something like that. And so that's why some of these transfers take time. Also, if you want to send some money from Idaho to Azerbaijan, for instance, now that could take 3 weeks. Why? Because it might have to go through, you know, 15 different banks just to get there. So it's, you know, it's been speeded up for local transactions, but it's still deathly slow. The system has been in place for years and years. I mean, it used to be literally just paper. Now I believe they have electronic versions of it, but it's still slow. And the banks have to spend a lot of money with staff, you know, sending and receiving these messages. So
wow. I know, and I think I speak for everybody else, that I feel very privileged, and I'm sure that they do too, to have somebody of your caliber and your knowledge now doing these probes, because they're getting a lot more information, right? A lot of crypto people, we don't have a clue, myself included. We don't have a clue of all this stuff, but I feel very privileged that you are able to share this knowledge with me and everybody else. So I just want to say thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. You're welcome, all of you, everybody. It's good.
And I'm sure everybody will agree with me on that. I have had nothing but fantastic comments and praises about you. And I just, you know, we're just so grateful. We're just so lucky to have you, you know, I mean, thank you so much. And I can assure you guys, those of you that are skeptical about where the information for probes are coming from, Mr. Shakespeare is there. He's there. He may not be commenting on the Patreon or even in the Discord, but he's there researching. He's picking up the information that you guys want to see, the suggestions, right? And he's delivering. He is delivering. And the information is current information, which is sort of the road I wanted to go down anyway. Try to hit the current, because you can do the timeless probes all you want to, and those are interesting, but I feel like the majority of our audience are looking for the here and now, because they need to know what's going on.
Right. And just as your point earlier on about Bitcoiners and the early adopters, I think one of the problems now is that we have to be aware of is that boat has sailed. Now, if you are lucky enough to get one of the pump and dumps on one of the obscure coins, and you can get in and get out and make out like a bandit, well, that's great. But as we've seen from a lot of these a lot of these viewings that we've done, these mine probes that we've done, crypto is not in the same. This is not your 2012, 2013 crypto Bitcoin anymore. So it's very, very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible to find these coins, but I can tell you anything that you bought, which originally was only Bitcoin and then Ethereum and Litecoin and things like that. Sorry, Litecoin and then Ethereum. If you'd have bought any of those when they came out, every single coin that you bought at the minute it was released would pretty much have made you money if you'd have kept hold of it. So I don't think that's the case anymore. I'm not a great advocate of trading for most people because they don't have the discipline and they trade on emotion. And you're trading against bots, algorithms, and all sorts of machine devices that can stay up later than you can trade later than you can, don't go to sleep, don't need to go have food, don't have anything. So it's really, really difficult. We need to find this new technology. We need to get in front of this. We'll probe Clif again. I believe he will. Once he knows about it, or once his subconscious knows about it, he will let it go, even if we're looking back. And that's really where we need to go. We need to be, in 2007 or 2008 or something like that, where he first mentioned this thing, which became Bitcoin. You see, if you get hold of that, then, you're on a winner.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's where we need to direct our attention now. So thank you. And again, thank you, Clif High. I'm going to pull you down now. Thank you very much for the information. And hopefully he'll see this video. Maybe he won't. He's a very busy man. But certainly, I just am very appreciative. And I do like him very much, along with many, many, many other people. So thank you.
Well, you never know. One of your subscribers might just forward it on to him.
They may, people do follow Clif High, especially in the remote viewing world. And he's not a remote viewer that I'm aware of. He may have been at one time.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
It's funny because a lot of times people come into remote viewing just to find trading signals, right? They want to decode the lottery, or they want to figure out how to make money off of sports betting. And that's usually where it draws people in, not me. I wasn't drawn in that way, but a lot of times it draws people in that way. I mean, there's a whole group, the Applied Precognition Project, which is run by Marty. God knows how many people are in that, because I was getting hundreds, if not 1,000 emails a day from that group. That's how big that group is. And, but eventually you shift over into, wow, this is really cool. And what can I do with this? And it sounds very similar to what Clif High did. So, but yeah, definitely we'll probe him again. Thank you very much, everybody. Just another reminder, I am going on Coast to Coast. I'm just waiting for the date. I'm also going on a couple more shows. Why am I telling you this? Because if you have not booked a reading with me and you want to, I'm not forcing you to. I always say your soul knows when you're ready to have a reading or when you're ready to have a CTT session. But I will tell you, from the response already from the CTT going on coast to coast, I am swamped. So I would not delay booking a reading, or there's a cutoff period at 6 months. Okay. Once the waiting list hits 6 months, there's no more bookings until, that time sort of expires. So if you're trying to get a reading with me and you're, dithering about it and umming and on, I would say, maybe go ahead and book now, because once I hit coast to coast, I'm pretty sure it's going to end up being sold out. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I want people to know, because those of you that have been loyal followers of mine for all this time, I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to give you the information before the big rush of people. So just be mindful of that. Okay, well, thank you very much. Again, you can find me at psychiclizcross.com, Patreon, remote viewing, and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.